Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Author Robert Kiyosaki. Chapter 1. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In schools, they don't teach how to handle money. Children are better taught how to march than really useful knowledge. Therefore, this should be done by parents. If they don't do this, the child will grow up financially illiterate. This does not mean that the school is not needed. It is very important for the formation of primary knowledge. But first, schools were intended to produce good workers, not employers. Secondly, the school process reflects creative thinking. And thirdly, for some, school is the end of their education. For a few, it is only a starting point. Therefore, even if a person studied for 1-5 and received a red certificate, he can become a good worker. But so it will remain among the middle class because they do not know how to manage money. Most people never win because they are very afraid to lose. This is also the fault of the school. The school teaches us that mistakes are bad and we are punished for them. But if you look at the root of things, it is on mistakes that people learn. Poor people say that love for money is the root of all evil, or justify their unwillingness to be rich, coming up with the following phrase, "I have nothing to worry about, I'm still young." Or, "If I want to, I will definitely become rich, but I don't need it yet." The problem with all these statements is that a person is wasting time, which is the most valuable asset for him. And the later a person starts to learn and invest, the less he will achieve. First of all, always put your education, since your mind is the most powerful tool you have. Therefore, in order to become financially independent, you need to change your thoughts and beliefs. The book, The Path to Financial Independence, tells in detail how to get rid of one belief and accept another. The video is on the channel. So, if you think like a rich person, then even after losing all the money, you will look for methods to return to the level of life at which you were before. The poor man will remain poor, as he is used to staying in the position in which he is now. Even if you give him 1,000,000 rubles, nothing will change in a year. He will sit on the bottom. The main distinguishing feature of the rich from the poor is that poor people learn to work for others. The rich, so that money brings them even more money. That is, they worked for them. Chapter 2. The rich do not work for money. When a person does not strive for anything, works for low-paid work, and coming home, he falls on the sofa in front of the TV. He begins to blame his failures, the boss, the family, and in general anyone, but not himself. Such people hope for a miracle that will solve their money problems. Purposeful people every day are struggling to move forward. They are learning something new and trying to save as much money as possible to invest it and get a percentage of it. These people are striving to provide themselves with financial independence. Most people spend the best years of their lives working for money, and then spend it on things they don't need and end up with nothing. These people also continue to live from salary to salary, or even worse, they get loans. Every time they get more money, they only increase their expenses. Here, for example, you can give the story of lottery players who were poor, then suddenly got rich, and then became poor again. Therefore, it does not matter how much money you have, it is important whether you have the knowledge of how to use it. Work is only a short-term solution to a long-term problem. You can get your first money for investment at work. But most people have one problem in their heads: short-term. They only think about how to pay the bill for the apartment and go out for a beer. They don't ask themselves if there is a way to start earning without working for a man. You need every day, wherever you work, to ask yourself, how else can I earn? And your mind will show you new opportunities that you have not noticed before. For example, imagine that you are a car mechanic. In addition to your main job, you could shoot videos where you would tell in detail about the repair of a particular car. Thus, doing the same job, you can earn money on the repair itself and on the training video. These videos can be either uploaded to YouTube or compiled together and sold as a training course. If you think about it, you can find other methods for making money. Chapter 3. Why learn financial literacy? Like any building needs a concrete foundation, so does a person who uses money needs financial literacy. Without it, a person, even if he wants to, will not be able to get rich because he just does not know how. Therefore, from an early age, a person must understand the basic rule. He must know the difference between an asset and a passive. Rich people mostly buy assets. The poor and middle class buy passives. The asset brings income, and the passive brings expenses. Let's see what it all looks like for poor people. Usually their income consists of one salary. In the expenses, there are taxes, food, clothes, entertainment, and travel. In passives, you can see a loan, mortgage, house, and car. And in assets, they have nothing. A rich person's assets include shares, bonds, real estate, and intellectual property. All this generates income. Here you can take dividends, interest, income from rent, and the copyright fee. A poor person can consider his house his largest asset, but in fact, it is a passive for him. The house requires a lot of money to be poured into it. You can take out loans, taxes, insurance, repairs, and utility services. Or let's take a cat. A cat requires food, medical expenses, medicines, and veterinary services. And if you don't post a picture of a cat on Instagram or YouTube videos, making more money on that than providing a cat, then a cat is your passive. Rich people, before buying some passive, for example, a car, make sure that the asset brings enough cash flow to service it. That is, they always have more assets than passives. Therefore, while preserving your main job, start purchasing an asset. Assets include business that does not require your presence: stocks, bonds, PFs, real estate generating income, copyrights from intellectual property, and other things that are valuable and bring income, such as publications on social networks. In order to become financially literate, you need knowledge in 4 areas. First, accounting. Here you will learn to read financial reports and be able to determine strength and weakness in any business. Secondly, investment. This is a science about money that earns you even more money. Thirdly, market understanding. This is a science about supply and demand. That is, you need to understand whether there is economic sense in a particular investment. For example, will people continue to buy Coca-Cola, or will demand fall on it? And it is better not to invest in this industry. And fourth, knowledge of economic laws. Chapter 4. The rich invent money. Now, many people live on old ideas and then instill in their children the same beliefs with which they themselves lived 40 years ago. For example, get a good job, only then you can make good money. But times are changing, and the ideas that worked before are no longer so important, and those who still stick to them and do not pay attention to the new ones will never become rich. There are a lot of talented people who do not earn the money they could. And the reason for this is that they do not know how to sell their services, since one talent is not enough for this. They just need to master the knowledge in the field of trading and marketing, and they would know how to present and sell their work to the maximum. But if you tell them about it, they will wave from you and say that all sellers are crooks and thieves, and they do not need this knowledge. But this is again false conviction, which needs to be changed. As a result, they will be so focused on improving their skills, but do not even think about how to present and sell the same book or album. One way to buy real estate at a significantly lower price is to look for profitable offers on a bankruptcy trading platform. Sometimes you can buy a house, an apartment, or another real estate at a market value that is 2 times cheaper than the real value, and then just sell it for 20 or 30% cheaper than its real value. And the difference you get will be your income. Chapter 5. Overcoming obstacles. At times, people encounter obstacles when facing them on their way to becoming financially independent. The first such obstacles is the fear of losing money. Remember that every rich person, his or her life, has lost some money. But a lot of poor people are afraid of this, so they don't invest their money at all and end up with nothing. If you want to start investing, prepare to invest your money for at least 3 years, since the longer the period for which you and your money, the safer it is for you. The second obstacle is the doubt of doubt. We often think that we are not going to succeed. And we ask ourselves the question, what if? For example, what if the economy collapses? Right after I invest? And sometimes our acquaintances even more of the situation, say that we should not go into it. And in the end, our doubts steam us, and we do nothing, and then watch past us about life and opportunities. Therefore, if you are in doubt about something, then should not ask advice from people who do not understand your question. And you need to analyze the situation yourself, and everything will immediately fall into place. The third obstacle is laziness. Rich people are not about words, "I cannot afford it," since it tells you your laziness. Because in order to afford something, you have to start doing something. The rich father required his children to say, "How can I afford it?" This is when your brain turns on to find answers to your questions. You have a constant battle going on between two sides, the spirit and the mind. The spirit says, "You have to go to trial." And the mind says, "You are too tired and can rest, and so every time." Or the spirit says it's time to do something to make money. To which the mind replies that you can become rich anytime. Right now you can rest. And the fourth obstacles. When you realize that you are not in the subject, find a specialist who knows it. And by doing so, fill in the gaps in your education. Or find a book on a subject that interests you. But most people do not want to believe that they do not know something, and so they don't even want to learn something new. That's where this book comes to an end. Subscribe to the channel, put a like, click on the bell, and leave any comment. Bye.